Alright, people, we gotta understand one thing. In the days of pro wrestling, it is more difficult than ever to get a wrestler over. To the extent that the wrestlers don't think that being successful in the business doesn't mean getting over. And it is the saddest thing I've ever heard in my life. Thanks, I grew up with wrestlers that got over. Jericho was over, Batista was over, Rey Mysterio was over, Jeff Hardy was mega over, John Cena was over, even to the extent of, OG fans. Now we have the bare minimum of hardcores and the bare minimum of OG fans that are already going to watch what's already in store. And for the pseudo masochists complaining about that is already watching it. And for the people disliking my opinion, that's why you're not seeing as many fans as you are. And it's the wrestler's fault. And the business as a whole for how it's been developed. Less wrestlers are getting over nowadays. And you're seeing this. Seeing it in WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan. And you can enlighten it to the writers. You can push it over to the fan base or the booking. Or just that wrestling isn't mainstream anymore. But the way to actually push your product or even your business is being big is to get the people that you know that's going to profit over. And it's not whatever big move or catchphrase is going to get the bigger pop. It's literally your character or charisma. And the way that's built up is off timing, actions, behavior, characteristics. And a good example of this, we don't even have to go to a main eventer. We can just go to a mid-card tag team. Let's go into the Crime Time. Crime Time was over to their stint from 2005 to 2008, 2010. And over to the extent of their vignettes, we know how they were. JTG was the talkative loudmouth that creates all the schemes, while Shad Gaspard was mainly the muscle that worked as the straight man. So we already got an elicited relationship between JTG and Shad. And as soon we saw and they were displayed as hoodlums. Thanks for the racist stereotype, Vince. But here's the thing about this. Every time you guys be like, "Oh my God, Crime Time," guess what? That was over. Fans popped. You know how many people still wish for Crime Time? If Shad was alive, they would have been world tag team champions. It's still fondly remember. I miss Crime Time. They're an actual black team that I actually enjoyed. While the New Day's been an oversaturated mess that's not even that much of a mainstream for G4 that's been having its own problem. And just knowing that this is the type of ignorance that most of the fan base tell you, bro, if you look at most of their vignettes, people remember the vignettes. I remember their vignettes when they were robbing a guy in an ATM. They were coming in doing service for a retirement home, and they were all entertaining. Stealing stuff backstage when they manipulated Eugene to give him money for a fake Royal Rumble number. That shows how they were. It showed character. It showed their behavior, and the fans were in on it because they know how they are, bro. You don't know how to get a wrestler over now. How long are we going to be seeing those Veer vignettes without even knowing how the guy is? He's just a big Indian dude beating up on dudes. What type of character is that from Jinder Mahal and Shanky? You don't even make him look different if you want to give him an identity. You keep him with the same stupid face paint. Physique hasn't changed at all. And he just doesn't speak that much. What is there to tell apart? What makes him profitable? What makes him all the hype? Other than he might do a great match against Austin Theory or something on Main Event. By the way, you're mainly showing his shit on Main Event. So he already had solicited exposure in the product. So there's nothing that exciting from him. I'm just seeing him job out in a show that's less exciting. Who watches Main Event to hype their talent? Really? That's stupid in my opinion. We waited until they literally pushed over a due date for Shad and JTG and Shad. Honestly, who doesn't remember them messing up JBL's limousine? Hanging out with Maria, all that stuff. And that's fond memories. And just knowing, like, this is a difficulty. Like, whenever you go down the street, you're never going to see Seth Rollins in public and ask if he's a pro wrestler. You're not going to ask if Kevin Owens is a pro wrestler. You're going to be asking Kevin Owens if he works at GameStop. What part of that shows that you're over, bro? If a regular human being, a person going day to day, that's like hearing, hey, isn't that Stone Cold Steve Austin from Monday Night Raw? I saw that guy. He came around beating up his own boss last week. Look at the guy. I don't want to mess with him. You see Kevin Owens. You see a guy that probably can give you a power-up rewards card. You see a guy that you don't want having the last 2 slices of pizza. That he doesn't look like a person that looks like he can beat you up unless you take his lunch. Sorry for all the fat jokes, but that's that's the honest truth. None of these guys have no definitive look, presence, or charisma to actually build up something that make them look over. Roman Reigns looks like he was a retired NFL player. The most that we have to a relative guy that's over is Brock, but he's already mainstream. But we overuse him. Same as Goldberg. Same as the other guys. This is why we still have to use retired talent. Because the guys are just not over. And they accept the change as it is. If there would be reported talks about creative for most of the wrestlers. So as soon as they try to elicit some type of unionization or something to actually speak out, that would actually gain Vince some balls, some respect for him to actually think of what do you want your character to be. Let's go over the writers and all this shit. But we know Vince is just doing this to sell over his merch, to try to push over his products so he can get bought out by a bigger company. That's how sad it is for Vince. I was talking about this over with BFB. We displayed it over on the channel. My first collab, when we were talking about who would be controlling the company. That would be Shane McMahon, and we put up why he should be more big on being the owner than Triple H would be. And now he's gone. Bro, you cannot disagree with this. That more wrestlers are getting less over than ever. Outside of the current wrestling community, outside of our own bubble, bro, no one is over. And pushing that to an extent, man, it's either some person looks like a crackhead, somebody looks like Kevin Owens, or somebody just looks like the guy getting friend zoned while wearing a Bullet Club t-shirt, farting in public. Smelling like some deviled eggs, bro. Dude, it is just not good. And you might just deny the factoid. You probably like all the wrestlers coming in front, but you know you're not going to talk about that in public until you find another wrestling fan. Another wrestling fan that probably dresses like you, talks the same shit as you. That's to the extent of what we're going to get, because it is difficult as hell to talk about wrestling outside of a person that never watched Monday Night Raw before, probably never watched Friday Night SmackDown before. It's terrible. You can't deny that. So, I understand. I would love if pro wrestling went back to at least a watchable state from like 2010, when like you can grab a few kids or a few friends and be like, hey, let's watch Monday Night Raw. See what's going on out there. It doesn't have to be like mega mainstream, but still a passable show that feels like I could watch it. This is on some house show shit. Most of the wrestlers look like all mid-carders. I hope they get rid of this brand split. I hope they actually think of making a quality TV show instead of just a basic-ass wrestling show. And as soon as that happens, Raw's going to keep getting the shit it is. Raw's going to keep getting the ratings it is. And that's why Raw's going to get the lack of praise that it had over 20 years ago. So, that's it for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. There's more videos on the way. I understand I've been out of it. Not not that consistent on the wrestling content because I just wanted to just take a break, talk about stuff that I'm actually and also invested in. I also enjoy sports. I went over the NBA trades that happened over the weekend, and yeah, that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Consensual penis.